the traditional territory of many nations. We recognize and honor the historic relationship of the Indigenous peoples to this land and acknowledge our shared obligations for building a strong relationship with them. We look forward to fostering a path towards reconciliation and show respect for the Indigenous peoples who first lived and currently live on this land where we now all reside together. Please remain standing for a moment of reflection.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chambers minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others, so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Please be seated. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none. Report from close. Oh, two. I didn't see the hands come up. Councillor Wright Miller. Who else? Councillor Kelly. Okay, section 5, report from closed sections, minutes of the in-camera closed session council meeting held on June 22nd, 26. Recommendation that the minutes of the in-camera closed session council meeting held on June 22nd, 26 be approved. Moved by Councillor Chatton, Councillor Kelly. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. 1.3, negotiations on behalf of municipality SDGM Holdings Inc, section 2392K. Recommendation that pursuant to the Manager of Economic Development's closed session report, number ECDEV 2026-09, negotiations on behalf of the municipality SDGM Holdings Inc, section 2392K, staff proceed as outlined in closed session report number ECDEC 2026-09. 1.4, personal matters about an individual. Oh, have to vote on that one. Moved by Councillor Brown, Councillor Thompson. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. 1.4, personal matters about an identifiable individual agreement adjustment, section 2392D. Recommendation that pursuant to the Manager of Physician Recruitment and Retention's closed session report, MPRR 2026-08, personal matters about an identifiable individual agreement adjustment, section 2392D, staff proceed as outlined in closed session report number MPRR 2026-08. Moved by Councillor Wright Miller, seconded by Councillor Sue. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. 1.5, negotiations on behalf of municipality, recruitment of family physician, section 2392K. Recommendation that pursuant to the Manager of Physician Recruitment and Retention's closed session report number MPRR 2026-09, negotiations on behalf of the municipality, recruitment of family physician, section 2392K. Staff proceed as outlined in closed session report number MPRR 2026-09. Moved by Councillor Sue, Councillor Thompson. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Negotiations on behalf of municipality, recruitment of specialists, section 2392K. Recommendation that pursuant to the Manager of Physician Recruitment, Retention's closed session report number MPRR 2026-10, negotiations on behalf of the municipality, recruitment of specialists, section 2392K. Staff proceed as outlined in closed session report number MPRR 2026-10. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Wright Miller. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Okay, next to a public meeting. Tonight, Council is holding a public meeting under Section 12 of the Development Charges Act 1997 as amended. The purpose of this meeting is to give the public an opportunity to ask questions, provide comments, and make representations on the 26 development charges. Background study dated July 6, 2026. Council will not be taking any action this evening on this report or bylaw. Prior to receiving the public comments, we will ask our consultant Watson Associates Economics Limited to do a brief presentation of the findings of their study. I believe Peter is representing Watson's today. Good afternoon. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. So as mentioned in the introductory comments, this meeting is a statutory requirement of the Development Charges Act. The development charges study itself that we have been working on with the city for several months now was published publicly on July 6th of this year. And the purpose of my presentation this afternoon is just to provide a very high-level overview of some of the key features of that study. And then the public meeting will shift to council receiving feedback from the general public. So just as a quick reminder, development charges are a tool that municipalities have at their disposal, and that it's a tool that's used to help recover the costs or investments that need to be made to accommodate or respond to both residential and non-residential development that's occurring within the community, and that places additional demands on services and municipal infrastructure. Municipalities are empowered to impose these charges under the authority of the Development Charges Act. The City of Belleville has a long-standing history of development charge bylaws. The current bylaw that's in effect came into effect on January 1st, 2022. That bylaw is currently set to expire January 1st, 2027. And as part of the journey to placing a new development charges bylaw to replace the current one, a development charges study has to be prepared, and we have to follow this public process. So the Development Charges Act is quite prescriptive in terms of the methodology that has to be followed when undertaking a development charges background study. The background study itself provides quite a bit of detail about that methodology and explains how those different steps were followed and are laid out in the study itself. But a high-level illustration of the methodology is provided on slide 4 here. And so as part of the background study, we identified the anticipated amount, type, and location of development that's expected over various planning horizons for the City of Belleville. Related to or in relation to that growth, we then identified the increase in need for services that would arise from that growth and the capital investments or projects that the city would need to undertake to respond to that increase in need for services. There are a number of notable deductions that have to be observed as well, including where there are external funding sources that might be expected that would reduce some of those capital needs, as well as the extent to which the existing community might benefit from some of the projects that are included in the background study as well. An appropriate share of those project costs has to be deducted as well. And then the net capital costs that are eligible for recovery through the development charge are divided by the anticipated amount of developments to come up with a charge for different types of residential units. And then on a non-residential side, typically a charge per square foot or square meter of gross floor area. So what we have summarized on slide 5 here is the full list of services that are eligible for inclusion in a development charge specified within the Development Charges Act. And then what's highlighted with the teal color and bolded are the services that have been considered and included as part of this development charges background study. I would highlight here that these are the same services that the city is recovering for currently and has recovered through the development charge historically, with the addition of transit services this time around as well. So having looked at the eligible services, the slide here summarizes the eligible capital costs. Generally speaking, the eligible costs are capital, so capital investments that need to be made. That said, the Act does allow for some items to be included that are not necessarily capital in the traditional sense of the word, such as interest on borrowing, such as library collection materials as well, and growth-related studies that may need to be completed by municipality as well. So all those eligible capital costs have been included as part of the assessment. So now to look at some of the specifics or highlights of the 2026 Development Charges Background Study. The first slide here summarizes the growth forecast, which has been prepared for a 10-year period, a 20-year period, and then for the longer-term planning horizon to 2051 as well. The sources that have informed this are various background planning studies that have been completed by the city in recent years, including the Housing Needs Assessment, the Employment Land Strategy Update, as well as the somewhat older Population, Housing, and Employment Growth Forecast Update that was done in 2022. When we look at the anticipated amount of growth over the next 10 years, so to 2036, we're expecting the city to grow by about 6,800 people, going from 59,400 currently to about 66,200 by 2036. And that population growth to be accommodated in about 4,300 additional dwelling units over that period. When we look at the longer-term planning horizon to 2051, we're expecting growth to be about 13,100 people relative to what the city has today. So that's a growth of about 22% relative to your current population base, and about 9,000 plus dwelling units over that longer-term planning period as well. Looking over to the right-hand side of the slide here, looking at the non-residential growth forecast, we are expecting employment to increase by about 2,200 jobs in the city over the next 10 years, and that job growth would be accompanied by about just over 2 million square feet of additional non-residential building space. And then looking over the longer-term planning horizon to 2051, we're expecting employment to increase by about just over 3,300 jobs, and that to be accompanied by over 3 million square feet of non-residential building area. So having looked at those growth periods and the amount of growth that's expected, the next slide here summarizes the planning horizons over which the various services have been considered within the background study. With the exception of transit, I would note we are not bounded to any specific time frame, so typically it depends on various background studies that may have been completed and what time frame those studies themselves considered. So for water, wastewater as an example, just going from the bottom, those services have been looked at over the longer term to tie it back into the infrastructure phasing strategy, which also took a long-term view. For roads and related, or what's called services related to a highway within the Act, we took a 20-year time horizon to align it with the Transportation Master Plan. And then in some other cases, the capital needs are better understood over a shorter term planning horizon, that being the 10-year period, so the balance of services are looked at over a 10-year period. In terms of the capital needs that have been identified, and again, full details are provided within the background study itself in terms of an itemized listing of capital projects. But in totality, the gross capital costs that have been included in that background study total just over $1 billion. Now, out of those gross capital costs, about 45% gets deducted as that benefit to existing component. Another 18% gets deducted as a post-period benefit, which reflects the fact that some of the infrastructure may be sized appropriately to accommodate growth beyond the planning horizon that's being considered within this particular background study. So it could be recovered through future development charges, but again, there's capacity being created beyond the needs of the population and employment growth that's been identified in this particular study. Then there are grants and other external contributions, which together comprise about 6% of those gross capital costs. And then finally, about 8% gets deducted to reflect the existing balances in the city's development charge reserve funds, reflective of prior development charge collections. So that leaves us with about $235 million of net development charge recoverable costs. When we look at the breakdown of that total amount in the table on the bottom right, we'll see that the majority of that sits within the roads and related area. That represents about 42% of the DC recoverable costs. The next biggest one being wastewater, about 26% of those net DC recoverable costs, and then followed by water in the third place at about 19% of the total. And so between roads, water, and wastewater, those three service areas represent close to 90% of the total development charge recoverable costs, and that is something that we commonly see in these development charge studies, is that really it's the hard services that are driving those infrastructure needs. So on the next slide here then is presented the full schedule of development charge rates as presented in the development charges background study and the draft development charge bylaw. We'll get into more details of how this compares to the rates that are currently in effect shortly, but just wanted to highlight that, as has been the case historically, the rates are varied depending on average occupancy rates for different types of units. So with smaller apartments typically having fewer occupants than single detached homes, the corresponding development charge rate is also lower. And then on the far right-hand side, again, as has been the practice historically, imposing non-residential development charges per square foot of gross floor area. So on the next slide here, we provide a comparison of where those calculated development charge rates are relative to the rates that are currently in effect, in this case focusing on the charges applicable to a single detached dwelling. If we look at the very bottom of that table in the second column, which is the current development charge. So for a single detached house on full municipal services, including water, wastewater, the development charge payable currently would be $32,183. If you shift your attention to the third column of the table, that is showing the calculated development charge, which for that same dwelling unit, again on full municipal services, as calculated would be $28,314. So that does represent a decrease of about $3,900 relative to where the rates are currently, or a decrease of about 12%. Similar decrease if we look at the citywide services, which exclude water and wastewater, where we're looking at about a 9% decrease to the total development charge for a single detached house. On the next slide here, a very similar comparison, this time looking at the development charge rates applicable to non-residential development, which are again imposed on the basis of dollars per square foot of gross floor area. We are looking at a relatively substantial increase to the calculated rates relative to where the rates are currently. However, here I think it's important to highlight that when the previous development charge study was undertaken in 2021, Council moved forward with a policy of a heavily discounted non-residential development charge. So what we wanted to also provide on the table here is an indication of where those development charges would be today had Council proceeded with the full rates as calculated back in 2021. And so that's what's shown in the third column from the right. And what that shows is that while there certainly is a relatively large increase to those development charge rates relative to where they are today, again, had Council gone with the full non-residential development charges in 2021, we would actually be looking at about a 20% decrease for the municipal-wide services and basically no change within the urban serviced area. So I just wanted to provide that for some context. So having looked at those comparisons, the next few slides here provide a comparison of the city's development charge rates to those of other area municipalities, with the first chart here on slide 14 showing that comparison for a single detached dwelling. So again, with that decrease of about $3,900 per unit on full municipal services, that would generally maintain the city's position relative to these comparator municipalities. Just putting it somewhat below the area-specific charges in Hamilton Township. Very similar comparison on the next slide here, this time looking at the development charges applicable to commercial development, again per square foot, assuming full municipal services. The gray arrow on the far right is pointing to where the city's rates are currently. The gray arrow, which is the second one from the left, pointing to where those non-residential charges would be today had the city, again, proceeded with full rates in 2021, and then showing the calculated rates as presented in the background study and the proposed development charge bylaw, which is the arrow on the far left. So certainly would be an increase from where those non-residential rates are today, but would still be within the range of rates that we see in other area municipalities. Very similar comparison then on the next slide here, this time looking at the development charges applicable to industrial developments. This is typically presented separately because many municipalities have a policy of exempting or discounting the rates for industrial development. The city had such a policy historically as well, but that was removed towards the end of last year with a shift of that exemption policy or reduction program to the CIP instead. So in terms of the policies, first just briefly on exemptions, the table on slide 18 here on the left-hand side lists all the statutory exemptions that are required to be observed under the Development Charges Act. And those apply to all municipalities, so I won't go through those in detail. Just wanted to note that those have been recognized in the study and the proposed bylaw. And then on the right-hand side of the slides in the table, we have a list of the discretionary exemptions. And so what's at the top are the discretionary exemptions that have been carried over from the current development charge bylaw, including exemptions for private schools, places of worship, hospitals, non-residential farm buildings, and then colleges of applied arts and technology. These are very common in other municipalities across the province as well. And then towards the bottom of the right-hand side of the table, we are showing the exemptions and discounts that are not, at this point, being carried over into the proposed bylaw, with the thinking being that the city may consider addressing those discretionary exemptions through the CIP programs, much like what was done with the industrial exemption at the tail end of last year. And then finally, in terms of a few other policies, in terms of the spatial applicability of the development charge bylaw, it is recommended that development charges are imposed on a city-wide basis, with the exception of water and wastewater, whereby for those services, the development charges would only be imposed within the serviced areas or on developments that would actually be connecting to those respective services. Generally, in terms of timing of collection, development charges are payable when at the time of building permit issuance. There are some exceptions to that, particularly for residential developments. They pay development charges at occupancy. That's been a practice that the city has had in place historically, and now it's in fact a requirement of the Development Charges Act. And then there are some other special cases for certain developments that proceed through certain planning approvals that have their DCs frozen for a period of time, as required under the Act. The bylaw continues to recognize redevelopment credits as long as the demolition or conversion is occurring within 5 years of building permit issuance. We are proposing that development charges will continue to be indexed once a year on January 1st using the non-residential building construction price index, as has been the case historically. And then finally, historically, development charge bylaws had a maximum shelf life of 5 years. That's now been extended to 10. So what's reflected in the proposed bylaw is that maximum shelf life, if you will, of 10 years. That said, council has at any point in time the ability to amend that bylaw or to repeal it and go forward with a new one. So it's just the maximum shelf life has been reflected there. And so finally, just quickly on next steps, the next portion of the public meeting will be to receive feedback from council and the public. Subsequent to that, council will need to determine whether any additional changes to the development charges background study are required or the bylaw. We are expecting or currently planning for the study and bylaw to come in front of council on September 14th, but did want to also highlight that depending on the outcome of the development charges reduction program and the city's application to that, that might be brought up by about 10 days to September 4th. So that's the earliest that a new bylaw could be passed, just based on the timing of when the background study was released. But we are operating within that roughly 10-day window for this to be brought forward to council for approval. And then finally, just wanted to highlight that, as is the case under the Development Charges Act, the new development charge bylaw will be susceptible to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a period of 40 days after it's approved. Thank you.
Now is time if there's anybody in the audience to provide comments on the public side.
Thank you. I'm just going to put that down. Jill Raycroft from the Belleville Chamber of Commerce. Surprised to see me here? I'm sure not. Anyway, thank you to His Worship, members of council, city staff, all the work that you have done, and the presentation around the development charges background study. And I realize that you're not actually making a decision today, but I really do appreciate the opportunity to provide feedback. It seems interesting to be here without asking for parades and fun things, but here we are about the business growth and development of our city, which is truly what the Belleville Chamber of Commerce is committed to supporting. We recognize that, that growth requires infrastructure and that the city must determine how those costs will be funded. We've actually started with this process in the past year, even at the federal level, with conversations about how there could be unique and new opportunities to support that. We understand that the city of Belleville needs to grow, and it doesn't necessarily have the tax base to support that. But before asking who will pay if Belleville does not collect the charge, council should also ask what every taxpayer could lose if the charge delays, reduces, or redirects the investment. Our feedback to the report in general is the scope is limited to identifying potential revenue based on projected growth and projected infrastructure costs, but it does not adequately consider whether imposing the charge will change the amount, timing, scale, or location of future growth. The provincial government is also sending a policy signal. Through its partnership with the federal government, Ontario is investing in housing-enabling infrastructure while encouraging municipalities to reduce residential development charges by 30% to 50%. You've already had that conversation. And I understand that residential and industrial development are different, but the underlying investment principle is the same. Substantial upfront charges can hinder or delay otherwise viable projects. And Belleville's own experience makes this analysis especially important. More than 80% of the city's industrial building permit expansions and improvements value between 2013 and 22 came from additions, expansions and improvements, rather than new industrial buildings. Retention and expansion are therefore not secondary to recruitment. They've been the principal source of Belleville's industrial investment. And we have an opportunity to find out through that whether or not these charges would actually have happened as quickly or not if these charges had been in place. So at the end of this, I'll give kind of a list of where I hope we'll go moving forward before the bylaw is actually considered. And you also have in front of you today an example with BCS Automation. How many knew who BCS Automation was before they saw this? How many knew that they've been in business for 39 years in Belleville? And they've proposed a facility expansion of $10.7 million in investment with 32 jobs retained, 15 skilled jobs created, and a significant increase in payroll and manufacturing capacity. One of the things I talk about all the time is youth retention and the idea that Belleville has a hidden job market of so many opportunities that people don't consider, where multiple skills are transferable among sectors, and the college diploma is one of the key leveraging factors in order to get those types of jobs. So we are well positioned to support growth and the multiple different jobs that exist in our community. The report before Council acknowledges that upfront costs influence the timing and scale of that investment and recommends a development charge rebate for that reason, and I would strongly encourage you to support that when it comes in front of you. But the cost of becoming uncompetitive is not limited to losing a development charge. Belleville could lose or delay private capital investment, new assessment and decades of property tax revenue, the retention and creation of skilled jobs, local payroll and supply chain spending, reinvestment by businesses already established here, and fuller use of infrastructure the city has already built. The Chamber's not asking Council to dismiss the work completed or conclude that growth should make no contribution to infrastructure. We understand it's important for you to say to taxpayers when you're talking about a campaign coming forward that you aren't giving away their taxes to support business alone, but we want to consider that the industrial increase, the investment consequences, and the long-term municipal return have to be properly tested before we can actually make that assessment. Eligible charges sounds like an opportunity to increase revenue for the city, but I think it needs to be considered as more than that. There's been a lot of conversation about $14.4 million that somebody had to pay for. But that conclusion also requires knowing whether those projects would have proceeded at the same time, at the same scale, or in Belleville at all if the charge had applied. Before asking who will pay if Belleville does not collect the charge, Council should ask what every taxpayer could lose if the charge delays, reduces, or redirects that investment. Council does not need to say no to development charges tonight, or yes. It can say not yet. Let us answer these questions before making the decision. And I think there are a few things that we'd like to specifically refer to as project assumptions. We need to test that growth forecast against Belleville's actual industrial projects, current investment inquiries, and the proposed charge. We also need to test the assumption of 1,700 square feet per industrial employee separately for advanced manufacturing, warehousing, logistics, and other industrial uses. We also need to understand what the return on investment is. Calculate the property taxes generated by recent industrial projects, their municipal service costs, and their net municipal return over 10, 20, and 30 years. And many of the organizations that have been in Belleville have been here for so long now. What is that ROI? Because we made that investment and agreed to that investment a long time ago. This will far outlive most of us, and many of the decisions made 40 years ago to bring and encourage that investment here, we're reaping the rewards of their decisions now. And also want to see this application in reality, compare Belleville's effective project costs with competing municipalities after all exemptions, rebates, servicing costs, and approval requirements. And I know that the economic development staff are working on additional information to support this. If there's also an opportunity to model representative new and expansion projects of 100,000, 250,000, and 500,000 square feet, what does that look like? And determine how the proposed charge could affect project viability, financing, timing, and location. Again, it's not a decision for today, but I really want you to consider the power and the impact of being competitive at a time when we are trying to grow Canadian infrastructure, Canadian goods, Canadian supply chain, and how Belleville can contribute to that in our enviable location here on the eastern side of Ontario, access to Toronto, Montreal, the United States, and hopefully some federal government support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kim Egan, and I'm here to represent GH Manufacturing and Gunther Hutlin. Mr. Hutlin's been in Belleville since 1985. He started running a company called GH International Packaging. He's German. He just recently received his Canadian citizenship. He believes in Canada, he believes in Belleville, and he believes in community. My message today to you, I don't have a great big presentation, but I thought I'd give you just a litmus test on what is going on in manufacturing today. So today in manufacturing, it is very difficult to turn a penny, to create good jobs, to keep jobs here. You probably hear in the news, it's a constant fight between tariffs, between Canadian versus US, between international. It is not easy, and it is not easy to keep people employed. We understand that we all have to pay our bills, but we also drive around the city, and we also see a lot of waste that doesn't happen in industry. It can't happen. We would be closed. So we force people, or I guess force people is a good term, to work harder, work smarter, think about how to save money, how to redirect investment, and how we can continue to employ people in Belleville. It's not easy. Hard decisions have to be made. But I will tell you that the people that work for us they earn an honest, hard dollar, and it is not easy. We watch them struggle, especially today. I just came back from Ottawa, another community that's struggling, downtown Ottawa. There should not be security in grocery stores. I went into a grocery store downtown Ottawa. There were more security than there were cashiers. Theft is on the rise. People are stealing food. And I know it's I know it's in our community. I mean, you look at the cost of things. So we are struggling. We are struggling to keep business going, to keep, my boss is now 90 years old. He technically should be retired, but he keeps coming to work, and he keeps pushing forward and persevering, and he believes that making things is the backbone to our economy. We can't all serve each other. We can't print money. We can't give out grants. We can't give out things. We all have to pay our costs. And that's part of manufacturing. If you don't have a strong manufacturing in your community, you don't have that. You cannot serve each other and continue to be successful. So we work hard to earn our money, to pay our taxes, to pay all our bills, and to service our community. I believe one of the reasons there's not more public input and manufacturers that come to speak is we are all tired, we are overtaxed, we are overburdened, we are tired, we are overregulated. And I know I've heard people before say, why bother? Because just coming out and speaking, why bother? Nothing is going to change. Well, I also believe nothing is going to change if we don't bring our spirit and our guidance and tell people what is actually going on. But it is tough, and I know that the manufacturing community, when you look at your budget and the revenue that comes in, we're a small part of that. But in the community, we are huge. We might only be 5% of your tax revenue, but in our community, I think the manufacturing accounts for $6 to $7 billion of economic output, supporting thousands of jobs and significant payrolls locally. I know it's not easy to make these decisions, but I also know that if you're going to continue to tax entrepreneurs and tax businesses and hold them to delays or to not being able to do the things that they want to do, that it's going to hurt the community. The community is going to suffer more. We have around 80 to 100 people at any given time in our business, and it's hard. It is hard. It is hard to get jobs. It is hard to create that work. It is hard to keep people, and it is hard in the community. So I want you to really consider before you read the study, absolutely. Consider what they're saying. But also, you have to consider that individual manufacturing in our community is important, and the spinoff is significant. So while I appreciate the study from Watson's where they say, had you made those decisions, tough decisions, and made those changes back in 2021, you would be up here, you also have to consider what if you had done that? Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe Procter & Gamble wouldn't be expanding at the rate that they are. Maybe Amazon wouldn't have come. We don't know the answers to those questions, but they seriously need to be thought of. And I know that entrepreneurs and manufacturing, it's difficult. It's very difficult to turn a dollar. It's very difficult to make business, and it's very difficult to support the people. So I really want that you really think hard about what the right decision is here in this particular scenario. So that's all I really had, but I just wanted to make sure that you are aware from the manufacturing side that we're trying to work, we're trying to create jobs, we're trying to create community. And if you have any questions, we welcome you to come to our communities, to come see what goes on in manufacturing, to come and investigate. But I think these development charges will seriously change business community in Belleville. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more public comments?
Hi, my name is Jamie Troken. I'm with the eCourt Realty here in Belleville. I guess I'm somewhat of a first responder when it comes for economic development, and in the sense that when Tom is here and Chris is here, I know others in the economic development, we have to take that first call when it says we want to come to Belleville, we want to invest in Belleville, we want to help Belleville grow, and we always come back to the same kind of, this change could dramatically change that first response and getting a second call. I'm in sales. I want the phone back. I want the call back. Well, no, we're going down to the next community, which could be outside of the province at that level, but we need, and I'm aware of the acts and the municipal restrictions you guys all have to make these hard decisions, but it does impact us getting a phone back or call back. It does have an impact, and it will have a dramatic impact. I brought Vision Transport to Belleville, Armor Sports Edition. I've done a lot of this right on the ground route, so I get those calls. I know Chris has got these calls, and when we have to use these kind of numbers in the development process, it could you just set it over the top. But I guess my one question is we talked to Mr. Watson, what is the structured public input process? That's what I'm a little mystified sometimes about. What is that? How is it taken in? How are we going to be listened to? As our young lady mentioned here earlier. What is that process, as I'm asking, and how can we add value with direct comments that you can take at heart and hopefully listen to? But it will have a huge impact on our future growth of our community.
Okay, I guess I can give that to Stephen, but I do have some notes here that written feedback can be submitted online to the project page under survey tab through August 24th, 26. And if you wanted to add, Stephen, I guess the process and time?
Yeah, and if you do have specific comments, you're welcome to send them directly
Will
to...
there be any in council meeting or any meetings, public meetings, in the sense that we can come to a meeting, or is it all online and all just email?
So so we did have some consultation sessions previously with the non-residential community as well. There's some attendees there, but if you want to reach out to me, we can have a discussion. I'm always agreeable to meeting in the same room and have those discussions. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any else? Good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Tom McAvoy, Mayor and Council. Working on a project right now in Foxborough for next level drilling. So we're constructing a new industrial building. It's 6,400 square feet. So next level can do fiber to the home throughout Prince Edward County right now. So we're hoping to complete that project here at the end of September. Initially, that project was exempt from the DC bylaw, but we got a bill for $54,000. That was a communication issue that we corrected, so that was great. But I'll tell you, we've got a number of projects that are ongoing. We've had pre-consultations with the municipality, and there hasn't been any discussion as far as DCs or increase in DC. It takes a long time to get through site plan control and rezoning, and if you commit to a lease to some of these large companies and you have to deal with, in an industrial case, sometimes at 8-10% increase in your cost. That's the decision you are making right now. When you say $26 per square foot on an industrial build that might be under $200 per square foot that was previously exempt, these big companies, they do SWOT analysis. They look through every municipality along the 401 corridor and they say, where are we paying money and are we connected to logistics routes? Do we have employment base? Do we have hydro capacity, gas capacity, water sewer capacity? We have a massive industrial park that's just about to get opened up. We're going to lose our competitive advantage. So that's what's about to happen. But I'll tell you, it would be really nice if it wasn't July 7th that we get to read a 187-page report instead of the meeting I had back in May where they could have said, hey, DC charges might be going up by 2.6 times. That's a big number to swallow for any commercial developer, big number. We're talking on one project I'm working on right now where we're trying to get a site plan approved. It would be a $750,000 increase in their dev fee. This is for a project that was going to be $583,000 in fees to the city, an additional $750,000. And they're sprinting to get this done. So I'm boots on the ground. I'm dealing with these projects. I hope you understand that I've got multiple projects going on, and a lot of people in this room do as well. GH Manufacturing, Derek Moore helping with finance, Jamie and Sean, we're all dealing with this stuff. And when we get 21 days to review a consultant report that has, I think, I'll make the note here, it says $94 million for highway services was on that chart. I'm really curious what that is. $94 million for highway services. That was a big part of that circle. Are we paying for that? Is the guy that submits his site plan September 16th, 15th, the day after, going to incur all that cost? And then if the province or somebody else comes down, the feds, says, oh, okay, no, we're going to adjust that fee now. These are decisions that affect how business move. So please make an informed decision. And we will be rebutting Watson and Associates study because as far as I'm concerned, they're using old numbers. Growth targets are wrong. The infrastructure targets are wrong, and the ratio between non-residential and residential, it's wrong too. So prepare for the appeals. I mean, this is worth too much money for the people that I work with. Just, anyways.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
listening.
Anybody else?
Good day, I'm Keenan Sprague, president of Sprague Foods. We're in the industrial park, East End Belleville. We make canned soups, canned beans. We broke ground in Belleville in 1994. My grandfather was a very ambitious businessman, and he wanted to build a 100,000 square foot facility. We only built 33,000 square feet, but we've been striving to build ever since. Admittedly, it's taken longer than we had planned, but we're really gaining momentum now, and we're really ready to build. And we compete with businesses in Tennessee, California, North Carolina, in the North American market. And we're in food manufacturing, where margins are thin. And we want to grow in Belleville. We want to hire more people. We want to hire more trades. And we've had these ambitions for a long time, and these development charges really represent an impediment to that. They tell us that we're allowed to grow a little bit, but we can't be too ambitious because it's out of our budget. And I'm not alone in that. There's just going to be a lot of cold water poured on manufacturing. You know, when you drive into Belleville on the 401, you see a sign that says, "Manufacturing grows in Belleville." Why is it manufacturing in particular that they singled out? Because there is a recognition that manufacturing is a unique economic multiplier for the community. Making things, hiring trades, it's good for our economy, and any kind of substantial increase like that is backwards. There is wisdom in the history of having no development charges for all of these years. That wasn't done on a whim, that was sound reasoning. And this represents a stark departure from that good policy. So in a time when the federal government is moving aggressively to help manufacturers buy Canada, compete in the world stage, Belleville is looking at going backwards on that, and I think that's the wrong move. So it's not about greed or anything. It's about growth. It's about prosperity. It's about having a healthy local economy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor Ellis. Mayor Ellis, you were the MP in 2019.
Could you please state your name and who you
state my
represent?
name. It's Nicholas Thompson.
Okay, and
Yes.
you're representing?
I am representing just myself,
Okay.
just independently asking some questions from today's hearing.
Perfect.
I have a very quick question regarding how our city has become. If you walk through the downtown area, we see overdoses and we see a mental health crisis on our streets and
Do you have a
everywhere around
comment on,
Belleville.
sorry, Nicholas, on development charges this meeting's about?
Yes, and I ask about that because there are some very well-known small businesses in this community that are affected by the population of people who are under the influence all the time, that the Belleville police have to respond to these calls all the time. Will we see a change that there will be less development fees for new rural projects for, say, new businesses that want to move in to new areas, such as the Costco that you campaigned on back in, when were you a part of that campaign? Back in 2019 or so when you first ran for mayor? Or sorry, when you were part of, after you left the federal politics.
Sorry, you must have the wrong man.
Are you going to provide the public some clarification of that Costco that your government?
I can give that to, you want a question on, sorry?
Yes. When you were the MP,
Yeah.
you stated that there would be a Costco coming. to
Sorry,
Belleville.
you must
Do we-
have me mixed up with somebody else.
Oh,
We're talking
okay.
about development service
Yes,
charge, the
and-
Watson
and-
report. Could you
and the
refer to the
question-
Watson report?
the
You're talking
question
about the
is
police
for-
commission, you're talking about different items. I could refer you to those people, but today
Yes.
we are on development charges.
Yes, and the development charges is when are the taxpayers going to be paying less taxes to fund the issues that we face in all of our city?
Well, that would
When
be
is our
depending on
government
what
gonna take
council
the
does on
accountability?
development charges, so that's what the public meeting is tonight. So
Yes,
if you're
I'm
for
well aware,
development
but
charges, or
we
you're
don't see
against
any
development
change.
charges?
We don't see any change, and I'm asking the question is, when is the provincial government going to realize that some of the previous mistakes that we made by charging, say, for
I'm
public
sorry,
transit?
sir. I have to call you to order. We are on a report. We're not on the
Yes.
provincial government in that. So if you could please step down. If you have any questions on the provincial government, there's Tyler Allstop. If you have any questions on the police, you could go to the police board.
I've
But
asked
this
Mr.
meeting
Alsop,
is
and
on
Mr. Alsop
development
still doesn't have
charges.
the answer
Yeah,
to that
sorry,
question.
sir. Your time is up.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Lealis, thank you.
Is there anybody else to speak to what is on the agenda? Seeing none, I have heard all the comments. This public meeting is now closed. Again, written feedback can be submitted online to the project page under the survey tab through August 24th, 26. Council consideration of the development charges bylaw is currently scheduled to occur on September 14th, 26. However, as noted earlier in the presentation, that date could change, and council may consider development charges as early as September 4th or as later in the month. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Next, we move to deputations, which We have Kerry Warner and Peter Lennox here. Deputations are hold at 10 minutes, so I would hope you stay to that time limit. The presentation is about our community safety and well-being plan presentation. Thank you.
Your Worship,
Welcome.
Mayor, members of council, thank you very much for hearing us this afternoon. We will do everything we can, there we are, to stay within that 10 minutes. I'm Pete Lennox. I'm a founding partner of Concilium Public Sector Services, and I come from a career in the policing and public safety sector. My colleague is Kerry Warner. She is the founder and owner of Avail Consulting, and she comes from the social and community services sector. It's been a great pleasure to work over the last few months with city staff and their community service providers as we support the city in the creation of its community safety and well-being plan. I won't go through this. It's in your package. It's an overview of what we're going to talk about over the next 10 minutes, starting with why we are here and why we are doing this, and ending with proposed next steps. The Community Safety and Well-Being process is required by legislation, the Community Safety and Policing Act, but we are here more to talk about this as an opportunity, as rather an exciting opportunity, actually, to benefit the community and to make it and to enhance its safety and well-being. It provides opportunities for municipalities to work with service providers and with first responders to identify areas of risk, to prioritize those areas, and to develop achievable and attainable strategies to deal with those identified risk areas. This is a provincial framework that's in place for municipalities right across the province and has been for several years at this point. The diagram that's up there, won't go through it in detail, but it shows the different levels of response to community risks and community ills. We are focusing on the blue and green circles, prevention and social development, and our purpose in advising and guiding the city is to go as far upstream as we can to be preventive and address root causes rather than crises. Obviously, crises have to be dealt with. Our idea is to go upstream to prevent that, or at least to minimize that. And how do we define success? Collaborative, sustainable strategies and solutions to the risks that the community face in terms of community safety and well-being. How did we get there? We went through, did a substantial amount of research, documentation, and data review with the support of the city staff and also of the partner agencies in the community. The advisory committee on the right side of the slide is key. You'll see that it represents a very broad range of perspectives and services right across the community. The legislation requires an advisory committee, but it specifies who must be on it, but the city has wisely added to that list and given an even broader perspective to the creation of the Community Safety and Well-Being Plan. So over time, that advisory committee will continue to exist. It will ensure cross-sector collaboration and provide structure for it. It'll provide the perspectives of different sectors, and it will inform the review of the plan, which is due and required in 4 years. To quote Director Carrie Lamb, who's here, ongoing collaboration, transparent reporting, and a commitment to equity and inclusion will be key to achieving meaningful and measurable progress in community safety and well-being. How was the plan informed? Very briefly, 4 areas, local reports and data from any number of sources up to and including Statistics Canada. We did a resident survey. We got 190 responses to that. We realized that 190 responses can't reflect the entire perspective of the community, but that hole was filled by the advisory committee and its members, and it will continue to be informed over the period of the plan by those with lived experience throughout the implementation. And so the results of our research and consultation is a plan that gives a framework for action over the next 4 years. The purpose is to enhance community health, safety, and well-being, and continued medium and long-term improvements over time. This is a marathon, not a sprint. It will continue over time with newer and revised plans, and Kerry will start to talk about the specifics of this plan.
Oops.
Oh, we've lost it.
Oh, this is why they don't let me do this.
There we go. No.
Thank you. Sorry, I opted to use this. If I clear my throat, I'm enjoying a very active allergy season. I am not sick, so I apologize. So stemming from the consultations and the documentation and our time with your community, which was fabulous and very engaging, while we can appreciate there's many areas of risk, what have been identified as areas of risk to action in the plan are the 3 that you see on the screen. So housing and homelessness, and we've heard today about the struggles with homelessness, mental health and addiction, and access to services and supports. And while data is not an area of risk, we can appreciate that data, good data can underpin and inform a lot of these areas of risk and help us to better understand our community and to mobilize based on data and what we believe to be true of our communities to help shape and inform strategies. So there are 3 areas of risk with data as a 4th area for prioritization. So the strategies in the plan, I suspect you've had a chance to look at the plan, but specifically around housing and homelessness, this strategy is really strengthening the city's partnership with Hastings County to support the implementation of the county's housing and homelessness plan while identifying local opportunities to address housing gaps and reduce homelessness or chronic homelessness in Belleville. So regular coordination and progress updates will help ensure that local needs, because that is a county plan, but we're talking about Belleville tonight, will ensure local needs and priorities remain at the forefront. Around mental health and addictions, certainly, as Pete mentioned in that bullseye that you saw, the blue and the green, the prevention, and the blue is prevention and green is social development. To the best of our ability, we want to work upstream to mitigate and reduce the risk of people kind of tipping into crisis in the future while appreciating that there is good work happening in the red and the yellow, which is that more immediate response. We need to kind of work across all 4 levels of service intervention, but in this plan, we've identified a bit of an upstream approach to mental health. So you would see in the plan that the strategy is being led by the Child and Youth Planning Table, which is a very sophisticated, you have a very sophisticated child and youth planning table in this community, certainly a provincial leader. And this strategy is focusing on inspiring and improving youth mental health and well-being by increasing access to inclusive extracurricular and community-based activities. Certainly, this is being modeled off of a strategy, a very similar strategy. It's called the Unnamed Youth Project because they have not named it, so they've literally called it the Unnamed Youth Project. That may change in the future, but we're seeing evidence of this really taking great shape in another community kind of close to here in Kingston, which is actually planned off of a very famous international model called Planet Youth Strategy. So that's really the focus of the strategy, is really trying to work upstream, engaging youth to stay connected to their community. And, you know, I think that even from the presentation before us, we hear about how we're really trying to engage youth, stay in the community, work in the community, go to school in the community. So this is certainly a strategy aligns with that. The next strategy is around access to services and supports. This is being led by the Community Navigation of Eastern Ontario, CNEO, in partnership with the local United Way. And this strategy is really trying to make it easier for Belleville residents to find and access the services and supports locally to meet their needs. And so the objective of this is really to kind of enhance that coordination among service providers, really focusing on the leveraging of 211 as a resource because it is an underutilized resource. And Mel, there may have been hiccups in the past. It's really such a powerful tool, not just from a data perspective, but from connecting people. And we know that kind of, you used to be able to call and get a number and you were well on your way, but people don't just need a number now. They need that light contact navigation. They need help connecting through the system because the complexities in society, they're increasing. They're kind of confounded. And so this is where people are really getting stuck and tipping into crisis. So I think this is a pretty awesome strategy to have in your plan, and I'm very excited to kind of track your progress as this unfolds. The next is the data strategy, and this is being led by the Center for Healthy Communities out of Loyalist College, which I think is also very unique to your community and really kind of inspiring, and I think you're going to get some really valuable momentum out of this strategy. So this strategy is looking at how community partners collect, share, and use information so that decisions are informed by common understanding of local needs, risks, and emerging trends. Really what that's all saying is we want to identify what are those key signals when we see them in the data, when we see it in emergency service data, not every indicator, but what are those key indicators that if we kind of look at them across the different sectors and maybe triangulate them, it helps us understand where we're going with community, what's an emerging trend, good or bad, and what we can do about it. So this is really kind of the data strategy in the plan anchors and underpins a lot of the other strategy, the work of the other strategies. So how this plan will be actioned. So you will see, and having gone through this with many other communities over the past number of years, lots of really great plans are produced, they're really robust, they're colorful, they got great strategies in them, but they're really hard to implement. So we wanted to make sure that your plan was very implementable. So with that being said, we identified the strategy, a lead agency, the partners, some kind of key activities. They're going to further develop that through the 4 years of implementation, but really setting the structure, the infrastructure, so that you can move this to implementation and action. So those strategy leads are going to coordinate those activities, track the progress, and report to the designated committee. The designated committee is the advisory committee that Pete spoke to earlier, and that group will kind of report into, through the support of a dedicated Belleville staff or staffing, to a governance group. And the governance group has been active in this process, especially as we were, on the tail end of the plan, really kind of getting clear on the strategies and getting a plan to the table today for your review. So you've had a very engaged community all along the way. So proposed next steps, pending any edits or amendments, that the 2026-2030 Belleville Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan be adopted by Council. If you choose to adopt the plan, that it be posted digitally, that is a requirement within 30 days of adoption, and that the kind of the key staff personnel from Belleville will work with the strategy leads. Again, the City of Belleville is not implementing all these strategies, it's really just kind of the governance of it, but you're working through your community, and that's really the intent of these plans, that they would work through the community to help initiate some of those early implementation activities for their respective strategies to make sure they kind of get off and get on their way through implementation. So as you can see, this is a shared living plan, but we know that the world might look different tomorrow versus today. And so we need to make sure that while we have strategies that we can focus on in the plan, that there's an agility to it. And by the structure that's been set up through the governance committee, through the data, it's going to give you that agility. So if really great opportunities come to Belleville through maybe funding opportunities or new programs, that we can figure out a way to kind of like tap into the plan and use some of that infrastructure to leverage that. And if things don't go well, we've seen that when all of a sudden there's a pandemic on our doorsteps, that you have some of this built in to help kind of guide and support some of that work. And that concludes the presentation. Okay. We're happy to take any questions.
Any questions for deputation? Seeing none, I'd like to have a motion for this to wellbeing plan be received and considered in conjunction with item 10.1, community safety and wellbeing plan for approval. Moved by Councillor Enright Miller, second by Councillor Carr. All in favor? Carried. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Correspondence. Next is, I need to go back to approving of 171 council meeting minutes. Recommendation that the minutes of council meeting held on June 22nd, 26 be approved. Moved by Councillor Sue, Councillor Chatton. Discussion from the minutes. All in favor? Carried. The Ombudsman Report investigation into meetings held by the Culture Exchange Committee of the City of Belleville June 26 be received, and that procedural bylaw be amended to require minutes of council and committee meetings to be publicly posted with 7 days of the meeting. Moved by Councillor Henderson, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. 9-2, letter dated July 3rd, 26 from Southeast Public Health regarding 26 Southeast Public Health budget. Belleville City Council Resolution, March 23rd, 26 be received. Moved by Councillor Sue, Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Recommendation to go into Committee of the Whole at 4 minutes after 5 to hear and consider reports, passing recommendations and resolution with Councillor Enright Miller in the chair. Moved by Councillor Chatton, Councillor Brown. All in favor? Carried.
Good afternoon, everyone. 10A, the agenda shall include under reports items that warrant individual attention from council. 10A1, Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan for approval. The recommendation reads that pursuant to the Director of Community Services Report DCSD 2026-05, Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, that council approve the adoption of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan as attached. May I have a motion? Councillor Thompson, a seconder. Mayor Ellis, any discussion? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Chair of the Governance Committee, I just wanted to comment on the meeting that we had with that committee and appreciate the input that CAO Connor Dory from Hastings County provided. And while this is Belleville focused, as the deputation spoke to, with the plan itself, Hastings County, of course, takes on that lead role when it comes to housing and homelessness. So the plan certainly speaks to them taking on that role as a service manager. So we're not taking on roles we shouldn't be. That's kind of been cleared up. The other thing I think that council should be looking at as this plan unfolds is the funding gaps that exist from the Ontario and federal government when it comes to certain things such as homelessness and housing. And Hastings County at Community and Human Services, it's been clear to us that in order to address the housing need as well as the homelessness situation, we need an influx of $21 million annually from both the Ontario government and the government of Canada. And so while this plan is unfolding and there's going to be things that we need to be tracking for progress, that progress in most part hinges on the funding that comes from senior levels of government. And so we shouldn't be losing sight of that. Those numbers should continue to be repeated at every opportunity so that the appropriate pressure is applied, that we can achieve this, because the minute we have a plan and the minute we have these targets, now we're going to be measured against it. And but without having that financial support, it's going to be hard to meet those targets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Chatton.
Thank you, through you, Chair. It's funny, I was actually hoping to ask at the podium, but I didn't get my hand up fast enough to catch the Mayor's eyes about Hastings County and how they played into what the safety plan was. So thank you, Councillor Carr, for clearing that up, that was in discussion. And I just wondered, in terms of data, do we know if they're using any data that is collected by Hastings County in order to inform where the gaps are, where we're moving forward in the safety plan as a living document, because this is something that's going to change over time?
Thank you, Councillor Chatton. Councillor Carr, can you answer that as being Director Lamb? Sorry, Director Lamb, could you answer, please?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. It's a good question on data. When we first started the project, data was a bit of a concern, and that's why you actually see data as a strategy within it. The data will continue to inform the project as we move forward, as the consultant said. So we will continue over the 4 years to drive data for the strategy, and it will actually speak to the new strategy when it is renewed at the end of the 4 years. So data is key as we move forward. We really struggled to pull data from all of our agencies to form the current strategy, and that's why the consultation was really critical in how we moved forward to form the current strategy the way it is today. The inclusion of Loyalist College and that strategy is going to be critical. The inclusion of the county, as Councillor Carr has spoken, is going to be an important one as we move forward. And the data as it relates to the 4 strategies we have, and then the actual strategies that are not identified, but we know that there's some need in the community, that will also be important as we move forward as well.
Thank you. And follow up to that, I know formerly we had the Southeast LIN, and we had a data platform that was across the province. There was so much that you could actually pull from that data platform. I don't know if the health unit now carries that process, but is that also like one of the stakeholders, or one of the community agencies, I should say, sorry, that is in collaboration with providing the data?
Director Lamb?
Thank you, Madam Chair. They are a partner at the table, so they will be somebody that we are continuing to lean on for data through the project.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Question is for Director Lamb. So we had the presentation for the Community Safety and Act, started in 2019, just bringing everybody up to page where I'm at. So we see all the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee, and they've been operating in the city, I believe, now for the last couple of years. So we talk about data, and my question for Director Lamb is, you said that there's a struggle to get the data and that you're working with the county and Loyalist College. So when we go to the Bridge Integrated Care Hub, and we've seen that transition in the last 6 months. It'll be 6 months next month in September at its new location. With data, does the Belleville and Quinte West Community Healthcare, Canadian Mental Health Association, the Enrichment Center, John Howard Society, and the United Way, who are all in partners with Hastings County and the City of Belleville with the hub, do they keep track of data? Do they have up-to-date data stats? So we've had it in other reports. Is that a partnership working with those already in the Bridge Integrated Care Hub?
Director Lamb?
Through you, Madam Chair, I think it's a big question. It's a question that I'd have to most likely bring the county in to answer that, because I call it big because it depends on what data you want. It depends, is it number of people? Is it number of visits? At what time of year? Those are the types of things that we would really need to lean on the county to provide that information as it relates to homelessness. Really, they are the drivers behind the unhoused in our community, and they're the ones keeping those statistics. So as Councillor Carr referred to, those are the conversations that we've had through the development of this plan, is who is the lead on that. They do have the data as it forms, the basis of the 10-year homelessness plan through the county. So that would be something that we could certainly bring the county forward and bring those statistics from them to the table. The data that is helping form the plan for us that we were trying to figure out through the development of the plan was, what is the need in our community as it relates to community safety and well-being, and where are the needs as we formulate strategies across the entire community. And that's where we were lacking a lot of information, and we had to do a lot of pulling from all of the variety of agencies. So to answer your question, just specific to the agencies you listed, and it really did revert back to what I was hearing was homelessness, we would have to really rely on the county to come forward with those answers.
Councillor Kelly.
Through the chair, just to follow up, thanks for that, Director. Just in the framework for the community safety and well-being, they have the 4 elements you touched on: social development, prevention, risk intervention, emergency response. And we know that all 4 of those subtitles, if you will, are every day in the life of a resident of Belleville. They see it or they're living it. So I look forward to those partnerships and getting data with the different agencies. Thank you, Director.
Thanks, everyone. Any other questions, comments? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. 10A2, Composition of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Group. Recommendation reads that council receive Director of Community Services Report, DCSD 2026-06, composition of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Group, and that council approve the composition of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Group as outlined in this report, and that council direct the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan Advisory Group to reconvene to develop and finalize a coordinated implementation plan to be presented to the Community Safety and Wellbeing Governance Advisory Committee for review and endorsement in support of effective oversight of plan implementation. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Chatton, seconder. Councillor Sue, any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 10A3, a memorandum of understanding, regional physician recruitment. The recommendation reads that pursuant to the Chief Administrative Officer's Report Number CAO 2026-03, Memorandum of Understanding, Regional Physician Recruitment, a bylaw be prepared for Council's consideration to authorize the Mayor and City Clerk to sign the Memorandum of Understanding on behalf of the City. Can I have a motion to approve? Councillor Carr? Sorry. Councillor Brown? Yes. Seconder? Councillor Kelly? Any discussion? I was looking this way, sorry. Councillor Carr? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions through you to the CEO. I'm just curious as to how this MOU was initiated. Was it the City of Belleville that started this process, or one of our neighboring municipalities? Just kind of trying to get an understanding of where this was birthed.
CAO, please.
Through the chair to Councillor Carr. The initial MOU predates me. It was in existence for some time. This is an amended MOU, and probably should be titled as such. And what brought this in front of you today was a couple of the parties to it, most importantly Quinte West and Brighton. Brighton obviously is withdrawing Brighton and has joined Northumberland County, who was not previously a signatory to it. And then Quinte West changing the title of their program, so that being reflected, and then some changes to it in general. So this, again, when it originated, was prior to me being upstairs, so it's been in place for quite some time. And in the report, there's a number of changes to it, and that's what's brought it here in front of you today. I think, importantly, if you'll bear with me, those Brighton to Northumberland, one of the key, there was no renewal in it previously. There now is a renewal period every 3 to 5 years. There's a withdrawal exit clause for any of the parties to it with notice. Again, Quinte West changing it. And then there was an addition to it that previously wasn't there that would allow any doctor that has been recruited by any of the member municipalities, if they terminated their agreement with any of the municipality that they'd agreed to and paid back the incentive to then sign with another municipality. It has not happened. I questioned that. But it wasn't previously permitted in the MOU. And I had significant discussion with the city's doctor recruiter, and it reflects what we're currently practicing in the city of Belleville, but it standardizes it across all of the member municipalities in this region. And so from our perspective, felt that it was logical for the city to be a signatory to it.
Okay, thank you. I've got 2 more questions, Madam Chair. If I could, so as I'm looking through the MOU, it refers to physicians. So is it focused on physicians or doctors as primary care providers, or does it include secondary care providers such as physicians that work as hospitalists or specialists? Or does physicians just encompass all 3 of those areas?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, the general discussion, in my understanding, is when this was drafted, it was specifically physicians, primary care, just our family physicians, I apologize. And that's been the focus of the municipalities that are party to this MOU. The CAO's discussion has been just focused on that, and that's generally what I would suggest the basis of the discussion on this has been.
So if you're focusing on primary care, was there consideration given for nurse practitioners as a provider or just physicians?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, there's never been, amongst the CAO group that discussed this, never been discussion of nurse practitioners. I know some of us certainly are in the recruitment of nurse practitioners, but there are some signatories to this that I don't know have or actively are recruiting nurse practitioners. And so not sure, based on the specific wording, and I'd have to go backwards and pull up the actual MOU itself. I don't know that it refers specifically to nurse practitioners or other specialists.
Yeah.
So I think we're just, this piece specifically is just focusing on physician.
Okay, thank you. And my last question, Madam Chair, just through you to the CAO, was when all CAOs were speaking on this issue to put this agreement together, was there ever any discussion on the fact that the Ontario government has the primary care action plan in play, and when you're looking at the signatories to this MOU, these are the same municipalities that fall within the Hastings Prince Edward Ontario Health Team, which has received significant amounts of monies for the purpose of recruitment and recruiting on a regional level. Was there any acknowledgement over the fact that there seems to be a duplication of service?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, there absolutely was very much an acknowledgement of the fact that we are very much in the same business as the Ontario Health Team in the region, duplicating service and competing with each other. Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, CAO McDonald. Any other questions? Seeing none, motion to approve? Carried. Thank you. Item 10A4, petition re, expedite the installation of sewer mains and water pipes in areas being omitted in the West Belleville Loyalist Plan, and the recommendation reads that Senior Project Manager Report ENG 2026-11, petition re, expedite the installation of sewage mains and water in areas being omitted in the West Belleville Loyalist Plan be received, and that the requested expedited extension of municipal servicing to Avonlaw Road, Marshall Road, and Bridge Street West be referred to the 2027 10-year capital plan update for consideration, and that, subject to future budget approvals and implementation of the associated capital works, municipal servicing connections for properties fronting Avonlaw Road be anticipated to be available in 2035, and for properties fronting Marshall Road and Bridge Street West be anticipated to be available in 2037. May I have a motion to approve or move? Councillor Chatton, seconder Councillor Thompson. Any discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I spoke to some of the residents on Marshall Road on Friday, concerned about the date of 2037. And I said to them, and I would repeat exactly what I said, that hopefully in the future negotiations of capital, that we can move it forward and we'd keep it in consideration. You know, they want it sooner, but it's probably not. But I promise that in the future, we would look at moving ahead if the capital funds were available. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, through you. And I just want to thank the staff for the detailed report regarding this. Let me say that while I understand the challenges involved, I'm deeply disappointed by what I'm hearing. I'm just trying to remember exactly, but I'm going to guess it's closer to 10 years ago that I stood in council asking the same questions, and I was assured at that time that these residents would have services within 10 years. Now we're a decade later, and we're now being told it's going to be another 11 years. The time for waiting has passed. These residents cannot continue living under these conditions. They need reliable access to water now, not 11 years from now. I see a subdivision on Avonlow Road being fully serviced on both sewer and water, while the residents of Marshall Road, Bridge Street West, and surrounding area still have no municipal water and no viable alternative. There's something wrong. There's something clearly wrong. There was evidently the will and the way to provide these services to the new development, while the long-standing tax-paying residents continue to go without the basic infrastructure. We were also able to extend water to service the new YMCA on Bridge Street West. It's being constructed now, yet only 400 meters further up the road, there are residents who are purchasing gym memberships simply to have access to showers. Some even leaving their homes because they can no longer survive without a dependable water supply. I spoke to a lady, I don't know, maybe a month ago, 3 weeks ago. She and her husband now live apart because she has a medical condition and she cannot survive and live under these conditions. So now she and her husband have to live apart. He stays at the home, they meet up, she lives in another city, and it's just, this should be a concern to all of us. Considering that, this information presented today, I am going to be introducing a notice of motion later in the meeting to address the issue. They've waited long enough. We have to do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Any other discussion? Motion to approve? Carried. Thank you. 10A4, petition expedite the installation of sewage mains and water pipes. Sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Thank you. 10A5, single source award for contract administration and construction inspection services for Upper Front Street Bridge rehabilitation. And the recommendation reads that pursuant to the Senior Project Manager's Report ENG 2026-13 and in accordance with Section 30.3 sole and single sourcing approval and reporting of the City's Purchasing Bylaw Number 2023-183, Council approved the single source procurement and that the proposal submission from HP Engineering Inc. be accepted for contract administration and construction inspection for the Upper Front Street Bridge rehabilitation contract administration and construction inspection in the amount of $188,395 plus $24,491.35 HST for a total dollar amount of $212,886.35. Can I have a motion to approve, please? Sorry, I'm not asking for the motion just yet. And that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the City of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Now a mover, please. Councillor Thompson, seconder. Councillor Sue, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 10A6, Stormwater Management Facility 6, Memorandum of Understanding. The recommendation reads that pursuant to Project Manager's Report Number ENG 2026-14, a bylaw to approve and authorize the execution of a memorandum of understanding between Genelin Properties Limited and the Corporation of the City of Belleville regarding Stormwater Management Facility 6 be prepared for Council's consideration. May I have a motion to approve? Councillor Chatton, a seconder. Mayor Ellis, all in favor? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. 10A7, 2027 Capital and Operating Budget Guidelines. The recommendation reads that pursuant to the Manager of Finance Report Number DDF 2026-05, Council approved the 2027 Capital and Operating Budget Guidelines. Can I have a motion to approve? Councillor Thompson, seconder. Councillor Kelly, any discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, on page 172 of 349, there's a breakdown of departments' expenditures over the last 3 years. And out of them all, the top three, or the city departments, went from 55 to 56 and all the way down to 54 in 2026. In my estimation, we are going the wrong way in that department spending. And I'm going to specifically speak to Mr. Reed's department for roads and sidewalks and flower beds and all the items that are under his jurisdiction. And I've talked to Mr. Reed, he knows I'm going to bring this up, but I'm very concerned that we stay at 54% and not get back up to 56. I know it's only 2%, which is a lot of money, but we are letting our infrastructure go to pot. And I mean potholes. So if we don't look at this avenue, Mr. Reed has been very good at restraints, not hiring people, keeping his budgets down, but our departments, and then when we come to our budget, I'm very concerned about that level staying in that particular department. We got to look at getting those parts back. I know we cut back because of the tax increase, but that's, to me, a very serious matter, especially when we look at the next department down. 24 was 23, 25 was 23, and 26 was 25. And when you go down to the next ones, they all went down. We need to be looking after our city, so I don't know where it goes from here, but I wanted to be note that when we do our operating, that we take a long look at the city departments and specifically Mr. Reed's. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Any other discussion, questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 10A8, Employment Lands Community Improvement Plan, the CIP.
Moved as written.
Thank you. Seconder? Mayor Ellis, all in favor? Thank you. 10A9, Declaration of Surplus Property, Stop Up and Close John Street. The recommendation reads that pursuant to the Manager of Realty and Property Services Report, MRPS-2026-05, Declaration of Surplus Property, Stop Up and Close John Street, parcel identifier number PIN 40431-0242, LT, legally described as Part John Street, Plan 58 Thurlow, ST interest in the 2187, if any, Belleville, County of Hastings, declare this portion of the road allowance surplus as described and convey the land to the abutting landowners for property value consideration under Section 2, 4, and 7 of the City Bylaw 2022-133. That staff finalize the acquisition of the surplus property to the abutting landowners, John William Latchford, Carol Marlene Parks, Nancy Hilda Pound, and Mona Helena Tuman-Lyons, and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration. Can I have a motion to approve? Mayor Ellis, seconder. Councillor Kelly, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 10A10, Private Stormwater Easement, 180 Coleman Street, City of Belleville. The recommendation reads that pursuant to the Manager of Realty. Thank you, Mayor Ellis, seconder. Councillor Chatton, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Thank you. Was there any discussion before I called the motion? Thank you. It's been a long time since we've been here. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor. Thank you. 10A11, Declaration of Surplus Property. Stop Up and Close Ashley Street. The recommendation states that pursuant to the Manager of Realty and Property Services Report, MRPS 2026-8, Declaration of Surplus Property, Stop Up and Close Ashley Street, parcel identifier number 405260221 LT, legally described as RDAL-BTN, Concession 5 and Concession 6 of Thurlow, BTN Part 1, 21R8.
Moved as written.
Thank you very much. Councillor Chatton, seconder. Councillor Sue, any discussion?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Chatton.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I'm wondering what are the dimensions of this surplus property that is being awarded to the abutting landowners, if I could? I didn't see that in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Chatton. Who could answer that, please? Director Ashton? Oh, Manager McFarland? Hi.
We don't have the survey at this time. It's permission to spend the money on a survey and appraisal for the disposition of the property. So when the bylaw comes back, it will have the exact dimensions of the, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 10B, consent items. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed for consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. We have consent items already pulled of 10B3, which I have a conflict with, and 10B7, Councillor Kelly has a conflict with. So I'll go around the table to see if any other items want to be pulled. Councillor Brown?
No, thank you.
Councillor Chatton? Councillor Henderson?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Councillor Sue?
No, thank you.
Mayor Ellis?
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr?
10B5, please.
10B5. Councillor Thompson?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Then we will, the consent items all are approved other than 10B3, 10B7, and 10B5. Sorry? Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Brown, seconder. Councillor Chatton, thank you. We have to. All in favor? Thank you. And we have to go. Yeah. Thank you.
Moving right along, we'll go to 10B3 Heritage Permit Application that pursuant to Report PP 2026-11, Heritage Permit Application 10 Patterson Street, Heritage Belleville recommends Belleville City Council approve the Heritage Permit request for 10 Patterson Street as it is consistent with Section 33 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Can we get a mover? Councillor Brown, seconded by Councillor Chatton. Any discussion? All those in favor? Approved.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. 10B5. Sorry. 10B7? 10B. Councillor Carr pulled, yeah, thank you. Bylaw Enforcement Activity Report, the recommendation is that the manager of Bylaw Enforcement Activity Report number MBE 2026-13, Q2 2026 Bylaw Enforcement Activity Report be received. Councillor Carr? Seconder. Councillor Brown? Discussion? Thank you, Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for you to the bylaw manager, I'm just curious to know the compliance rate on violations, excluding parking, once bylaw enforcement has been provided or provided notice to violators, and also how many charges and or fines were levied on those various categories where there was a violation and no compliance.
Thank you. Manager Hill?
Through you, Chair. So for the entirety of the compliance rate, we have an approximate 93% compliance rate after we have actively been involved in a case. The 7% approximate non-compliance rate often results in remediation work. So to quantify that for you, we've had about 500 properties we've had to actively provide direction to this year. And of those 500 properties, we have only had to conduct remedial work on 39 of them, and none of them have been repeat properties this year. So that means that every unique occurrence this year is unique to this year. There have been some repeats from previous years, but that leads into the second part of your question. We have issued one PON, which is often referred to as a ticket, for the operation of a short-term accommodation without a license. We are pending between 6 and 8 charges, which will ultimately end up being some form of a Part 3 summons. However, I cannot expand anymore because it is not yet public information.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Hill. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 10B7. the Belleville Caribbean Parade Permit application, Belleville Caribbean African Organization. The recommendation reads that the parade permit application for the Belleville Caribbean Parade to be held on Saturday, August 15th, 2026, beginning at 1 p.m. at 15 Bridge Street West and ending at the Front Street parking lot be approved. Motion to approve. Councillor Chatton, seconder. Councillor Mayor Ellis, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Sorry, any discussion? I did it again. Discussion, Councillor Brown.
Thank you. It says ending at the Front Street parking lot. Can we confirm which lot that actually is? There are a number that face into Front Street.
Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Through the chair to Councillor Brown, my understanding is it's the one directly adjacent to City Hall. Has traditionally been referred to as Front Street parking lot, and traditionally where the Caribbean Festival ends. We will get clarification and provide it to council, ensuring that I am not misleading you.
Councillor Brown.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding the area. Like 15 Bridge Street West is like just, it's just at the courthouse, is it not?
Yes.
So the parade is just going from the courthouse to the parking lot? Am I understanding that correctly?
Through the chair to Councillor Brown, it seems awfully short. Yes, I would agree that your understanding or your thought process is correct. It traditionally in past years has gone a longer duration. I think it was originally going from Swix to that Front Street parking lot right across the road, which again, that is traditionally, is that correct? Generally what we call a parking lot directly across, Katie? Deputy Clerk, so that is always been my understanding is what that is called. I understand exactly, you're correct, that is what that would infer, but we'll provide some clarification just to make sure that that's correct.
Thank you, Councillor Chatton.
Thank you, through you. The last year that I had attended it, which was not last year, so I'm not sure what the parade route was, but I do know that they had initially had it go all the way up Front Street to the parking lot that was beside the towers, McNabb Towers. That said, one of the costumes, the skirt was so elaborate and so exquisite, it actually went over the abutments on both sides of the street. Like the navigation was almost impossible. So it's possible that maybe there was more room going straight up Bridge Street to end here. But I'm just, before they had taken it all the way down to the far end, the top end of Front Street.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. (10C) Information items. Council may adopt information items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. Just go around. Councillor Thompson?
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr?
No, thank you.
Mayor Ellis?
Thank you.
Councillor Sue?
No, thank you.
Councillor Henderson?
No, thank you.
Councillor Chatton?
No, thank you.
Councillor Brown?
No, thank you.
Councillor Kelly?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Recommendation is that the information items 10C1A to 10C3A be received. Motion to approve. Councillor Chatton, seconder. Councillor Thompson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 10C1, general, nope, sorry. I'm done. I tell you, you're going to get fired here. Thank you. I am almost done here, guys. Sorry about that. 10D, rise and report. They had a lot of pages on this one, I tell you. The recommendation that Committee of the Whole does now rise and return to Council at 5:40. Thank you. 5:42 p.m. Motion to approve. Councillor Chatton, seconder. Councillor Kelly, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Enright Miller. Moving to bylaws. I need a motion that bylaw numbers 2026-089, 090, 091, 092, 093, 094, 095, 096, 097 be read and passed. Moved by Councillor Chapman, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Discussion on bylaws. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to speak just briefly to 2026-093 regarding the MOU for doctor recruitment in the region. The CAO acknowledged earlier that City of Belleville and regional municipalities are actually duplicating efforts. And I think it's important too that if it wasn't for the City of Belleville, I think that other municipalities wouldn't have even gotten into the recruitment business years ago, but they've pretty much been forced to because of us. But the Hastings Prince Edward Ontario Health Team, which includes, and I know I'm being repetitive, but I'm going to beat this drum as long as I can, the local family health teams, local family health organizations, the local NP-led clinic are all part of the HPE Ontario Health Team. They've received $4.45 million in July of 2025 and an additional $2.65 million in 2026. This funding targets connecting over 16,000 total unattached residents in Hastings and Prince Edward counties to primary care providers. The HPE OHT, the Ontario Health Team locally, has publicly indicated that they are connecting residents as per their target requirements with the Ministry of Health. The city's recruitment manager at a previous meeting has indicated that it's the city's efforts that are actually connecting residents. And we have two rather siloed recruitment processes underway, and this MOU solidifies it even further. One funded by the Ontario government as per their jurisdictional responsibility, and one by the municipality, which was a necessity at one time, but really these funds should be allocated to core municipal responsibilities such as municipal services and infrastructure. When we look at the tax rate stabilization fund, in every council meeting, we receive an update from the Department of Finance with respect to our reserve accounts and our projected spending. Already, the tax rate stabilization fund is significantly underfunded. The over $1 million allocated to recruitment agreements could have helped replenish this reserve account, added to the municipal budget as a tax reduction measure, or address many of our local roads and streets that Councillor Thompson had referred to just earlier. Municipalities are extremely limited in terms of funds, and we can't be all to everything. Already for 2027, the Finance Department has suggested there's a projected operating budget tax increase of 3% based on decisions that have been made thus far. And that's not taking into consideration various external agencies, and one in particular that always causes for significant tax increases. We need to really understand the core function of a municipal government and fund our responsibilities in the truest sense when affordability needs to be a paramount consideration. And so I understand the need for the MOU because these recruitment programs are in place, but I think each municipality, and maybe we have to lead, need to start looking at what we can fund and what we can't fund. And we can't do both. And particularly, and I've said this before, every year municipalities go off to municipal conferences and we're asking for municipal funds because we need more money. A $21 million funding gap for our housing and homelessness in our region that we cannot fund ourselves and don't try to. But when we are limited for funds, we can't simply take on provincial programs and fund them. And when we have a provincial government that is actually funding and with targets to address the unattached patients in our residents in our community for primary care, we should be taking advantage of that and allocating these scarce dollars elsewhere. So I'm not going to support the MOU. I think the program has run its course. But again, at every opportunity, I want to simply outline the fact that we have core responsibilities that we need to fund. The province has their jurisdictional responsibilities, and we shouldn't be duplicating efforts, as the CAO has pointed out here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Anybody else? All in favor?
Recorded vote, please.
Pardon me?
Recorded vote, please.
Okay, let's pass the other bylaws and pull that one. Okay, so I'm asking for a motion to pass every bylaw except 11.5, which is 093. Okay, so amend the motion. I guess that's amended with the friendliest. And all in favor of everything except 093? Carried. Okay, Councillor Henderson has asked for a recorded vote. I need a motion to, I guess 0903 has been removed. So, Clerk, do I need a motion to put that back, or no? Okay, moving a second, Councillor Henderson. Will you move that, Councillor Henderson? Councillor Chatton? Okay.
Councillor Henderson?
No.
Councillor Kelly?
Yes.
Councillor Sue?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Brown?
Yes.
Councillor Carr?
No.
Councillor Chatton?
Yes.
Councillor Enright Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Ellis?
Yes.
Carried by 7, Your Worship.
Thank you. Okay, moving through the agenda, we have new business. Any new business? Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm hoping that come September, we can have a deputation, some speakers come from the Bridge Integrated Care Hub. It'll be 6 months that it's been opened in April. It'd be nice to get an update on how things have been proceeding. So I'm hoping that that can be brought forth sometime in September. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kelly. Anybody else? Okay, motions. Councillor Brown on Alto protecting municipal interests. Recommendation, whereas the proposed Alto high-speed rail project may be significantly affect municipalities and agriculture and farmland residents, businesses and municipal infrastructure, emergency services, local economies, and natural environment across Ontario and Quebec. And
I move as read, please.
Okay, could I get a second on that? Councillor Carr, all in favor? Carried to be read, I guess. And then you move that and seconder on the motion? I got myself confused. Okay, so who's moving the motion is Councillor Brown, seconded is Councillor Carr. We're back on track. Maybe we're off track. Okay, discussion. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know we seem to be a bit discombobulated after having the first half of summer off. On Monday, June the 22nd, the Government of Canada and Alto released Alto's What We Heard report, which summarized the feedback during the first phase of the public consultation on the proposed Toronto and Quebec City high-speed rail project. For the City of Belleville, the report identified several issues that residents have been raising directly with me since the beginning of February: land acquisition, farmland protection, access to agricultural operations, impact on private property, road access, emergency response times, environmental concerns, and the future of the many conservation properties throughout the northern and southern corridors. Yet, despite that feedback, Alto continues to move ahead without actually addressing those issues, or if they are, it's without any public accountability. These concerns affect municipalities, farmers' families, landowners, businesses, and rural communities across the city, and in particular currently in Ward 2 Thurlow. The Federal Minister of Transportation has also directed Alto to assess an alternate southern route option between Peterborough and Ottawa, including a potential stop in Kingston. That was also announced on June the 22nd. This alternate proposal was prepared in response to a request from Kingston stakeholders, including the Kingston Accommodation Partners, Save South Frontenac, and the Corridor Trail Alliance, not to mention significant lobbying from the MP, Kingston and the Islands, and the Mayor of Kingston. With the addition of a potential stop in Kingston and the route options to get there, the effect of Alto is now right on Ward 1's front door and will disrupt everyone around or making their way across the 401. The potential third route may have an effect on the provincial's plans for widening of the 401, including the breadth and configuration of the overpasses to be reconstructed. I have shared all of these concerns with both our MPs and our MPPs, and I will continue to push for clear answers, a transparent process, and proper communications with the communities that are most affected across Eastern Ontario and Western Quebec. I would really encourage everyone around the council table to have a look at the concept design document that is publicly available on the Kingston Accommodation Partners community webpage. While the report itself suggests that support from municipal leaders and local leaders throughout Eastern Ontario help influence the design, my conversations with councillors in several municipalities have yet to determine who, in fact, was part of those discussions. Those same, the who's was requested by another councillor in another municipality directly to Alto, and to date, she has not received any further response. My concern is not that collaboration is happening. More so, my question is, who gets invited to the table? Under what conditions? How much influence do those participants really have? How much of the process still remains visible to the public? The issue is not whether or not communities should communicate with Alto. They absolutely should. However, a recent presentation to the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry on June the 15th outlined what Alto was requesting, and item number 1 was a non-disclosure agreement. SDG Council said resoundingly no. The City of Ottawa senior staff signed an NDA with Alto, and despite that NDA, Ottawa Council unanimously put the guardrails in place similar to those in my motion. I have confirmed that with 2 of Ottawa's councillors. Now is the time to be protecting our city, and to do so in cooperation with municipalities across Ontario and Quebec. A new alliance organization has been formed, the No Alto Ontario-Quebec Alliance. This is an umbrella group to assist, coordinate, and share information with the many, many community-led, locally based No Alto groups. I'm now talking with and listening to municipal leaders and residents across both provinces. The City of Belleville needs the ability to engage honestly with Alto. But at the same time, the residents and businesses deserve clarity about when confidentiality requirements are being used, what information is being requested, what access is being provided to Alto, and how our public accountability is being maintained. And public accountability means transparency, not non-disclosure agreement. Today, I'm asking Council for their support for this motion. It establishes the guardrails. It provides direction to our staff, and foremost, it advises the Government of Canada and Alto about what guardrails exist here in the City of Belleville to ensure our community is transparently involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Anybody else? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Brown for taking the lead on this file. I appreciate the fact that the wording of the motion references agreements, and I think it also, because it just says agreements as is, that also includes the non-disclosure agreements that Alto seems to be trying to sign with member municipalities along the way. Just watching this unfold in a kind of an interesting parallel, I've been watching the discussion regarding the Billy Bishop Airport downtown Toronto, and the province had recently taken it over from the City of Toronto, and we're looking at expanding the runway to include larger jets flying into downtown, and again, improve that connectivity. That's been an Ontario initiative. It hasn't been a Prime Minister Carney initiative. And with that, just last week, the federal transport minister, in reference to the airport, says, and I've quoted from a statement that he provided on Friday, says the federal government will always work collaboratively with our partners, studying the region's connectivity needs and protecting the interests of local residents, and will not pursue any plans that infringe on treasured public spaces, making reference to parks and beaches in the area, result in elevated noise, have significant environmental impacts, or hinder Toronto's ability to build much-needed housing. This was after receiving 87,000 responses to the concept of an expanded runway. Contrast that to Alto's initial 100-day public consultation for high-speed rail, received 24,142 completed questionnaires, collected 19,903 comments on its interactive map, and logged 324,000 unique visits. So it's unfortunate there's been a lot of secrecy with Alto, and what they have been providing is, as we've said here previously, is more of a sales pitch than it is actually providing details about the project. What we do know is the executives with Alto have received bonuses already for work undertaken, and at the end of the day, being a federal project and a Crown corporation, these are federal tax dollars, these are our tax dollars being spent, and so bonuses are going out the door. There's lots of money being spent, and I guess, and Councillor Brown referred to this alternate route, and I think, to put it so everybody understands it, the alternate route that skates along the 401 is what they're talking about, will essentially take out a lot of the businesses and facilities along Millennium Parkway. A couple car dealerships, perhaps maybe paramedic headquarters, and the reality is now you're on the front door of urban living on both sides, because it's not that far beyond Millennium Parkway that we have large urban development. And interestingly enough, talking high-speed rail, that you could feel the vibration 100 kilometers from the train. So as you can imagine, that is going to have impact as that train is rushing down the track on both sides of our 401 related to businesses. Commercial business relocation is going to be impacted. And again, there seems to be this veil of secrecy over what is to be considered a national project. And so at the end of the day, if it's a national project that the Government of Canada wants us all to fund with our tax dollars, then certainly they should have a little bit more disclosure in what is forthcoming so that municipalities can anticipate. So I appreciate the motion here. This is going to send a good, strong signal to not only Alto, but I think importantly, and it's unfortunate that our Member of Parliament is no longer in the public gallery, for him to listen to this conversation, the fact that the Government of Canada needs to listen to all municipalities along this route and not just focus on the fact that there's a couple by-elections in the City of Toronto and they're worried about the length of a runway. Thank you.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Could we get a recorded vote, please?
All in favor, recorded vote.
Councillor Chatton?
Yes.
Councillor Enright Miller?
Yes.
Councillor Henderson?
Yes.
Councillor Kelly?
Yes.
Councillor Sue?
No.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Brown?
Yes.
Councillor Carr?
Yes.
Mayor Ellis?
Yes.
Carried by 8, Your Worship.
Long notice of motions. Councillor Henderson?
Thank you, through you. This is just in follow-up of our discussion earlier about the Marshall Road, Bridge Street, West water issue. My notice of motion reads that Council directs staff to meet with the residents of Marshall Road, Bridge Street West, Peter Street, and Wyra Street West, and report back to Council by September 28th meeting with a plan to implement a temporary water supply to households in these areas that are experiencing periodic or permanent water deficiencies until such time as a permanent municipal water source can be installed.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Announcements. Councillor Thompson's side on the left, seeing none. Coming back up the right. Nobody. No announcements tonight. Okay, I have one. Councillor Kelly, you have one? No. Okay, you had your hand up. So. I need a motion to adjourn. Anyways, some good news here. I had recently had a chance to meet Louis Lombardo in my office, who is Director of Real Estate Development for Costco Canada. I was excited to discuss development plans for the new Costco site located just west of the casino and hotel lands on Bell Boulevard. The Costco build will be their new larger format of over 1,670,000 square feet, which I understand is larger than the Costco stores currently in both Kingston and Peterborough. There will also be a gas bar of just over 8,000 square feet with 12 double-side pumps that will allow 24 autos to be fueled at the same time. Construction value for both the gas pumps and main building just total over $37 million. Costco now has a draft site plan agreement before them for their execution, and then a building permit can then be finalized and issued. It is expected that site preparation will begin this fall, with construction in the spring and completion in the fall of '27. We are excited to welcome this new business to Belleville and the new employment opportunities that are expected to create. As this development moves forward, I'd like to thank city staff. They have worked diligently on this project for the last year and a half. Stephen Ashton's department, Director Ashton, kudos to your department and all the staff that have been involved in this. We've been working closely with the Costco team to support its successful integration into our community and help ensure it becomes a valued part of our Belleville's growing business landscape. As additional details related to job creation, economic impacts, and employment opportunities become available, they will be shared with the public. We look forward to seeing the positive benefits this investment will bring to our residents, businesses, and the broader community. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, staff. Okay, with that, we will move to a confirmation bylaw number 2026-098, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on July 27th, 26. Confirmation bylaw 2026-098, moved by Councillor Chatton, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Discussion, all in favor, carried. Motion to adjourn at 4 minutes after 6. Everybody's hands. Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Wright Miller, all in favor, carried. Thank you very much, everybody.